But I hope those who speak Arabic were able to recognize the value of that, inshallah. Next up, on behalf of the Syrian women, we have a speech by Hanan Maruf. So please welcome Hanan Maruf.
Hello everyone. What more than handcuffing kids as young as 4 months old and slaying them? What more than burying people alive? What more than running people over with tanks? What more than stealing organs from wounded people in hospitals and leaving them to die? What more than torturing people to death in prisons, including kids as young as 12 years old? And why? Because they wanted freedom. Because they wrote once on a school wall, "We don't want you, Bashar, we wanted freedom." Yes, they wanted freedom, and we want freedom. We Syrians want freedom after 40 years of oppression and corruption in its worst form, after 42 years of dictatorship of Alasaad. We want freedom and democracy. Freedom and democracy concepts that Australians take for granted. Syrians have had to pay heavy price and still paying. So far, over 14,000 civilians have been killed. Over 200,000 are currently arrested. 65,000 people missing, and over 250,000 refugees in Syria and surrounding countries. Not to mention destruction. The army's militia are ravaging through houses with their slogan, "It's Al-Assad or we burn the country." They're literally burning the country down. Houses, farms, crops, people, and even killing livestock, leaving nothing but their trail of savagery. In the last 15 months, we have seen horrific crimes against humanity by the Syrian army and the Syrian intelligence forces. We can't take any more tears from mourning mothers, shrieking children, groaning of the wounded, and the smell of death in the air. So what more do Syrians need to do or lose to get the world's attention and help? Last Tuesday was a historical day when many countries expelled Syrian diplomats in protest of the massacre in Hawla. But as much as we acknowledge such actions, unfortunately, expulsion of ambassadors alone will not stop the killing of innocent people. As a matter of fact, since the slaughter that took place in Hawla last Friday, there have been many other massacres that didn't make international news. With today's communication technologies, we thought Bashar al-Assad would not be able to cover his brutality like his father did in 1982 when he executed 42,000 people in Hama. And we foolishly thought that the world nowadays would not tolerate such violence towards civilians. However, we have come to the harsh understanding that Syrians are being left alone to face their doom. Bashar al-Assad attempted to disguise his suppression of this revolution by not allowing international media and journalists to enter Syria. 42 journalists who managed to sneak into the country were killed by the army, along with any Syrian caught holding a camera in his hand. This sickening regime is trying to sell its propaganda to the world that what's happening in Syria is not an uprising against the government, but only a conspiracy by the Al-Qaeda to get of Syria's sovereignty, when in fact the regime is staging attacks and suicide bombings to justify the shelling and artillery assaults on cities. All Syrians know that there are no terrorist groups in Syria except for Alasaad militia and his ally Hezbollah's militants. Yes, we now have the Free Army, which consists of defaulted soldiers who escaped execution when they refused orders to kill innocent civilians. And yes, they brought with them guns and light weapons, but these are no match to the tanks, cannons, and airplanes that the regime is using against defenseless civilians. The Free Army soldiers defend protesters, and they are not terrorists, and we Syrians are very proud of them. The regime is stirring sedition between different towns and religions, exactly like they did in Hawla, where a group of Syrian army's helpers, we call Shabiha, from neighboring towns, mainly populated by Alawite people, raided houses of the Sunni community in Hawla last Friday and slayed 108 people, including 51 children, to create hatred between religions and ignite a civil and sectarian war. Although we in Syria, Muslim, Christians, Alawites, Kurds, Shias, Druze, etc., have always lived in harmony since the dawn of time, but in the absence of effective UN actions and the evilness of this regime, Syria could slide into a civil war that would degenerate into a regional conflict. Bashar al-Assad knows the complexity of the situation and the sensitivity of the region that he is taking advantage of. He is taking the world on, challenging it, violating international laws, and aborting ceasefire proposals, last of which is Kofi Annan's tattered plan. With Iranian funding, Russian supply of weapons, and the militia of Hezbollah, Bashar al-Assad will kill millions more without a second thought. So what more does the world need to see to take serious steps to stop the killing of civilians, to provide international probe for the genocides that were committed by the Syrian army, to refer those responsible to the International Criminal Court, to ramp up restrictions, to implement arms embargo. We don't want sanctions on importing and exporting perfumes. We need sanctions on Russia's and Iran's shipments of weapons to Syria, which are happening now under the world's nose. We need the international community to put real pressure on the UN National Security Council to intervene and put a stop to the tyrant and his crimes against humanity in Syria. Thank you.
Takbir!